Hey guys, I just wanted to go over some Congress of Vienna notes for you guys in case you're doing this and you're wondering what even is the Congress of Vienna? So here are your note slideshow that we're going to go over in class, and we're going to do some reading assignments and get y'all straightened out. But this is my instruction for you. The Congress of Vienna is really working on cleaning up what Napoleon had done to Europe and really trying to balance that power. So Napoleon was ruling France. France had further extended its traditional boundaries. And in doing that, it disrupted the balance of power, like who has more dominance over Europe as a continent than any other nation. He also, Napoleon, he kind of shook up what it meant to be a ruler or to rule in certain regions. So Napoleon, he goes into Spain, disrupts their monarchy, goes into the Holy Roman Empire, which is ruled by one elected emperor. However, there's all these different princes that rule over these different specific areas, and he throws them out and puts different family members in charge. He disrupts the Austrian Empire, Prussia, and even some areas north, such as Denmark and Norway. So this whole Congress, this meeting of these different world nations, was to clean up the mess that Napoleon had made. Also, it really was about squishing the feelings of the Enlightenment, to curb liberalism, to curb individualism, and to try to reinstate all of this conservative order, bringing back these old monarchs and establishing a connection to the old world. So the Congress of Vienna is going to start in September of 1814 and goes all the way to June of 1815. Now, there are all kinds of representatives. However, we are going to talk about the 5 nations that had the most power at the Congress of Vienna. And again, this Congress even starts before Napoleon is finally exiled to St. Helena in 1815. So everyone knew this mess was coming. In fact, the Congress of Vienna is going to be integral in helping France reinstate the monarch. So the Congress of Vienna, Clemens von Metternich, he is going to be one of the people that suggests Louis XVIII. And remember, if you remember from Crash Course and other things, they referred to him as Louis the Desired because in the Congress, they wanted Louis XVIII to feel like the people of France wanted him, which is why they gave him that tag name. So the main objectives of the Congress of Vienna was to undo everything Napoleon had done, to reduce France to its boundaries, to restore as many of the old monarchies as possible, and to also come up with peaceful solutions to any conflict going forward. This is considered the Age of Metternich because this Congress of Vienna, led by him, is going to establish a peaceful relationship between these European nations, essentially until World War I. The argument, though, is that a lot of these countries are going to be fighting overseas through their imperialistic empire, and there's going to be a lot of infighting, nationalism, and different types of revolutions throughout Central and Eastern Europe as time goes on because of this disruption. So the key players in this are Tsar Alexander I of Russia, King Frederick Wilhelm III, or William III of Prussia, Foreign Minister Viscount Castlegraf of Great Britain, and Foreign Minister Charles Maurice de Talleyrand of France. The host himself was Prince Clemens von Metternich of Austria, and Vienna, just a reminder, is in Austria. So these 5 key players are the ones that are going to have the loudest voice at the table. They're the ones that are going to be really wheeling and dealing and establishing who gets which pieces of land. The key principles of the Congress of Vienna were to balance power, to restore legitimate monarchs, and to provide compensation for nations that were trampled by Napoleon. There's going to be this coalition force that will occupy France for 3 to 5 years, and France is going to pay an indemnity, which is kind of like a reparation or it's kind of like a cost that you pay because you damaged something, of 700 million francs, which is just unheard of. They are going to try to cripple France economically so that they are no longer able to rise up. I guess everyone's kind of looking at France like, wow, you had a revolution, then you had a dictator, let's not do this again. So here are some changes that were made, and this list is long. You're not going to be expected to repeat much of this, but let me just go through it really quick. France was deprived of all territory conquered by Napoleon. France was given most of the Duchy of Warsaw, which we know is Poland. Poor Poland had no seat at the table, and they get axed up real quick. Prussia was given half of Saxony, parts of Poland, and other German territories. Remember, Prussia is going to be the unifying German state. We'll get to them next, lesson. A Germanic Confederation of 30 plus states, including Germany, was created from the previous 300 states, and they were placed under Austrian rule, which is going to cause an issue because Prussia and Austria are really going to be fighting over who's actually controlling those people. Austria was given territory back that it had lost, plus more in the German area and in Italy. The House of Orange was given the Dutch Republic and the Austrian Netherlands to rule. The House of Orange had ruled in that region prior to Spain. So this is a real quick look at the Germanic Confederation in 1815. So it's really about consolidating these areas. Remember, Austria is part of this, but not fully part of it. Here are some other things. Norway and Sweden are joined as one. The neutrality of Sweden was guaranteed. This is when Switzerland was granted neutrality. Switzerland from here on will be neutral in all wars. Hanover was enlarged and made a kingdom, which is in that Germanic Confederation area. Great Britain was given Cape Colony, South Africa, and other colonies in Africa and Asia. We'll talk about that next unit. Sardinia was given Piedmont, Nice, Savoy, and Genoa. These are areas that will eventually be passed on to the French and fought over. They're in Italy. The Bourbon Ferdinand I was restored in the two Sicilies. The Duchy of Parma was given to Marie Louise. The slave trade was condemned at British urging, so no more slave trade for these European nations. The freedom of navigation was guaranteed for many rivers, so allowing people to pass through the rivers on the continent of Europe without having to pay additional taxes was a big deal. So this is what the map looks like at the end of the Congress of Vienna. You can see that the German Confederation, though still not entirely organized, is looking a little better than it was before. France has returned to their regular size. Poland has been completely wiped off the map as part of Russia, and then again as part of Prussia. Austria has been given control over this area along with other territories, and Italy is nearing unification by conglomerating these states as one. So remember, this is what it looked like before, really quick. We'll scroll up. This is before. And that's after. All right, so that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I know we're going to go over these things in class, but it's always good to hear it twice. Have a great week.